Hey, greetings, class. Welcome to Psych 5. I wanted to make a video here just to go over our Canvas page and the syllabus for our class. So I'll try to keep this brief. I won't read the syllabus word for word, but we'll go over the highlights, right? We'll do the hits. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to start off with my Canvas page, which looks like this for me. You can see all the classes that I'm teaching this summer here. So here's us, Psychology B5 Online. This artwork pretty cool. This is digital art. I thought this one was perfect for us, right? It's human between these humongous dominoes. All right, or maybe think of behavioral stats. Honestly, what can I say? I'm a dork. Okay, so here's our Canvas page. And by the way, I used to have a really cool looking Canvas page, pages that I worked on for just hours and hours and hours. The students were kind of like, this is cool. We don't like it though. We want to see bare bones. We want everything in one place on one screen. I was like, oh, you guys just want like a website. You don't want Canvas pages. They're like, yeah, like a website. We just want everything in one place. We don't want to be redirected a million places. Like, okay. So I took student feedback and now we're kind of like back to bare bones. I'm gonna try to figure out how to make this look better, but everything is in one place here. So on the left in the menu screen here, you have the home. This is our home page. It'll take you right back to these modules. I do everything in modules like this. You can get to the announcements this way. The announcements should pop up here on top when there's some new ones. You can see your grades. You can get tutoring help here. But let's look through real quick at some of the modules, then we'll go over the syllabus. So the course materials I put up here at the top because these are things that you might need the entire semester. So you have the syllabus here. You have the link to my office hours on Zoom there. The textbook is here. A couple different versions, places where you can buy it. And by the way, if you don't have Microsoft Office, you guys can get it for free because you're BC students. And this link will show you how to do that. There's technical support for your textbook. So if something isn't going well with the book or having problems, start here first. If there's issues with Canvas itself, then go here to the online hub. So you got tech support here as well. I've got info for like how to view a discussion, how to reply, and then what I use for grading those discussions on this main page as well. Same thing for assignments, how to view them, how to submit them. And then we're going to use this program called AppStream for some of you who choose to. So part of this class, you need analytics software, and you have some options there. You can use something called SPSS that you can navigate via what's called AppStream. And there's instructions on for AppStream here and how to get kind of registered for that. So the options are to use this or Excel, Microsoft Excel, and then you can make a decision. Like either one of those works just fine. If you already have Excel, then I would use that. If you don't, then I might look into AppStream or look into SPSS through AppStream. Okay, moving on from there, there's student resources here too. These are all hyperlinks for you, things that my students have asked me about in the past. So they vary from how to do things on Canvas, how to do things on Zoom, and then student services through BC as well. So you have all these different links here for you. Now, a typical chapter looks something like this. Chapter one's kind of big compared to the others. There's a lot of resources here, but they all look something like this. There's learning objectives at the top. It's kind of like what we're going to go over. Here's a link to the chapter in the book, flashcards for studying if you like that kind of thing. The PowerPoint that I use, the video lecture of me going over the PowerPoint that I use. Right, this one's got two parts. So why statistics part 1 and part 2. So I want you to watch both of those. I'll always label them this way: video lecture. That means that's me talking, right? So video lecture, chapter 1, part 1, video lecture, chapter 1, part 2. It always looks something like this. I'll put the PowerPoint there and the video itself. Some other videos I attached because I thought you would find them interesting, like improving human welfare, comparing research designs, understanding reliability and validity. So just some extra stuff there. Sometimes it helps to hear those, hear that information from somebody else. It's not just me, right? And then there's a quiz. There's a 10-point multiple choice quiz for every chapter. So there's a link to the quiz and a link to a discussion, right? So every chapter will have a quiz and discussion. I'll put them all in the same module. Now this one's a little longer because it has these extra videos. And then I have this, this kind of worksheet I want you to try to practice with. for what's called independent and dependent variables. So basically, here's the blank one, here's the form with the answers in it, so you can check your work. And then here's me going over the answers too. So this one's got a little extra information. Let's see if chapter 2 is shorter. Yeah, see, chapter 2 is shorter. Objectives, the textbook, flashcards, my PowerPoint file, me going over chapter 2, some extra videos, quiz, discussion. So they all look kind of like that. And then you go through a few chapters and then you got an exam, right? So let's see, where's our first exam? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 chapters, exam number 1, right? It looks like that. Okay. And that's kind of how I have the whole class set up in modules. So you can see everything all at once. You just have to scroll through and find the correct chapter for the week. Now let me download and open up the syllabus, and then I'll have to switch my screen here. So hello again. I'm going to share my screen, but now I'm going to find the syllabus for our class. There we go. Here we are. So let me walk through some of the syllabus. All right, now make sure we're on the right place. This is Psych 5, sometimes just called Psych Stats, but elementary stats for behavioral social sciences. And here's what a quote I kind of use to inform me in the way I teach this class. It says, no research without action, no action without research. I like this quote a lot from Kurt Lewin. It's one of the forefathers of social psychology, which is what I've studied. One of my favorite things to teach. No research without action. That really means if we're going to do research, then it should be informed by some type of problem, right? If it's a behavioral science one, some type of problem or some kind of issue that we're trying to understand, or maybe a problem we're trying to solve, right? But there should be some point. And then no action without research means that we shouldn't just try to solve a problem because something feels correct. What if there's some research that shows us there's a better way to understand the problem and a better way to solve it, right? Then these things are cyclical. A good example of that, by the way, would be something like the DARE program, the drug abuse resistance education. Sounds great to most people. They want to try to keep these drugs away from children, especially as their bodies are still developing, their nervous systems are still developing, right? That kind of thing. It sounds good. Most people are on board. Like, it sounds great. Educate them about drugs. Turns out it doesn't work. In fact, it doesn't do anything to help at all. So it has good intentions, but does it actually help? Doesn't seem to, right? So that would fall into this category of like we violated Kurt Levine's idea there: no research without action, no action without research, right? Certainly had the good idea, maybe should have been tested out before we implemented it across the entire country, right? Okay, but anyway, let's move on. Now, my name is Jordan Rude. If I haven't said that already, you can call me Professor Rude. You can call me Mr. Rude. You can call me Jordan. All those things are me. That's fine with me. The easiest way to get a hold of me is through email. And I should say that this class is entirely online. There's no time that you have to meet with me online or with each other online. I will have office hours, though, if you want to drop by. So Mondays, I'll be online from 1 to 2. And then on Thursdays, from 6 to 7 p.m. And really anytime upon request, as long as I'm available, I'll be there. And then here's the Zoom link so we can all meet up. But again, that's just if you need help with something, or even if you don't need help, but you just want to chat, that's fine too, right? I'll be there. The students will be there. And you can come do that. Okay, so let's skip a little bit down to the course description philosophy. Let's go to, that the course description and the learning outcomes are kind of the same thing. So let me skip down to the learning outcomes. So there's 3 learning outcomes for this class. And this is the idea is that once you leave this class, this is what you've learned, right? So you'll be able to identify, explain levels of measurement and terminology used in stats. So that's kind of like the language that's used in stats, for sure, right? In part, this is a language course, right? And in the second, completing the course, be able to explain and effectively describe inferential statistics, apply descriptive and inferential statistics for each level of data. All right, so number 1 says there are levels of measurement, the same thing as levels of data, right? All right, so we need to figure out what type of analysis is the best fit for which type of level of measurement, right? Or what type of data. Not all data is the same, right? Some of it just puts things into boxes. Others are more like an average, right? Different types of way to measure variables. So we'll get into all that. Don't worry. And the third one is upon completion of the course, you'll be able to interpret statistical analyses based on behavioral and social research problems, right? So now we're getting into the sciences here. So it's like, here's this problem we're trying to solve. What's the best way to go about doing that? What type of stats model would be best for analyzing the data that goes along for this specific type of problem? And then on the other end of that, like once all the numbers have been crunched, right? And here's the final outcome of that crunching. What does that mean? Like, how do we apply that to the initial problem itself? So I think that's pretty good. Like, I want you guys to think about this class as not like a math class. Of course, we're going to do some math in here. It's not complicated math, but the math part will be easy. It's more of a science course, is what it feels like, or maybe what's called a quantitative reasoning course. So how to try to understand or potentially predict or solve types of problems, using numbers, right? How do we do that in a way, in the best way possible? All right, so for the text and the materials for this class, so a couple of things you need. First, you need access to the book, and you can find this book lots of places. You can get a used copy, is why I still stick with this one from 2018, because there's lots of used copies floating around out there. The bookstore will have some in stock. I don't think they currently do, unfortunately. But you can find, wink, wink, you can find the book online. So I've heard. So you can look it up that way. But you will need a copy of the book. It's hard to get through any class, but especially this one, without a copy of the book. We'll also use analytics software in this course. Like I mentioned at the top, you can go through AppStream and use something called SPSS, which is software we use to crunch numbers for us. Or if you have access to Excel, you can use that, Microsoft Excel. Either one is okay. I'll put up videos, or I already made them. I made videos for going through both SPSS and Excel. So you can pick and choose whichever one works best for you. And you need a calculator for the class. Don't have to have a crazy calculator, nothing like super scientific. The math we do in here is not that tough. As long as you can square numbers and square root numbers, it's about as advanced as it gets. So if you can do those two things on your calculator, then you'll be good to go. Okay, moving on. If you're a student who goes through DSPS, that's Disabled Students Programs and Services, of course, I will work with you. Just let me know. If you think you could use their services, contact them as soon as possible, because you often have to test and qualify for their services. So if you think you do, then go talk to them right away. Okay, other things on the syllabus I'm going to skip over here are these academic support services, because these are all hyperlinked on our Canvas page. This is just, a short list of those hyperlinks that I included on our Canvas page. Public safety, you can put their number in your phone if you're so inclined. I'm going to keep moving. Better BC if you want to keep up to date and all the construction going on. Okay, now these two here about netiquette and this being a safe zone, these really kind of go hand in hand because they have to do with respect for each other. And what I really wanted to see is there's not a whole lot of controversy in this class. I mean, we really don't get into, theory a lot in psychology. It's really more about, the technical side of analysis with numbers. So I don't see there being a big issue with people disagreeing on some kind of topic, because there aren't that many theoretical concepts we go over that aren't strictly statistical. But it could happen. And if something like that happens and you disagree with something somebody says, that is perfectly okay. I just want you to do so in a respectful manner, right? So if you disagree with somebody, great. This is a perfect place to do that. That's what college is for, to learn how to disagree with people, and to learn to be disagreed with, and both of those in some kind of constructive way. That's kind of the goal, right? The goal, I think, of many college course curriculum. Okay, so that's what I mean by being respectful. Netiquette means you do that online and type with each other. And that's how you communicate primarily. So be respectful in that version of communication. And then safe zone is referring to the LGBTQ plus community. It just means that I'm an ally of the community. I have friends and family that mean a lot to me. And so I support them through my allyship, which a lot of times just means I listen. But it also means that I'm a person who has resources. So if you're someone who is kind of burgeoning into this community or just entering this community and you want to know who to talk to, or you're looking for a support group, that type of thing, you can ask me and I can point you in the right direction. It also means that if you are being rude to somebody, really for any reason, but in this case, specifically based on their sexual expression or orientation or gender expression, then I'm going to speak up. I'm not going to stand for that. But that goes for anybody. If you're being disrespectful in this course, or yeah, in our course for any reason, I'm going to speak up. Okay, late work policy, Steph. You don't have time to slack off. To be honest, this is 6 weeks. If you don't get your work turned in on time, the only exception for that is an emergency. Um, if you didn't come here to work this summer, then you shouldn't be here because it's just we're cramming 16 weeks of work into 6, so it can be intense. I'll be there to help you out. Don't worry, you're gonna be okay. I've done this before, many summers in a row in 6 weeks, and students are fine. But some students find out right away it's not for them. Not that it's not the right pace for them. It's not the right format for them, and that's okay, right? But I would say try to figure that out within the first week because there's the drop deadline, and I don't want you to get a W or an F because you dropped too late, right? So what I'm going to do after this first week, when you have, uh, I'll see. Well, no, that's not right. Is it first week? When the first group of assignments are due, if you haven't turned them in, then I'm gonna have to drop you from the class. But that's really for you, so you don't get like an F or a W for a class maybe you didn't realize you were in or that you didn't want to take in this format. So I'll reach out to you if you haven't turned your work in. And that'll be like your last chance before I go in and drop you. But just reach out to me. Let me know. Okay. Assessment for the class. There's 3 exams, 50 points each. They're primarily multiple choice with some written short answer questions too. Um, Often 1 per chapter, but really we get into those later on, like in the exams 2 and 3. Okay, there's a quiz for every chapter and there's a discussion for every chapter as well. So each chapter has a quiz, each chapter has a discussion. And then later when we get into using the software for analytics, then some of those discussion assignments will turn into these SPSS and Excel assignments, right? Where I want you to use the software to do your analysis. And then there's project assignments. So in this class, I have a project for you to work on. I've posted it already. I have a bunch of data on different types of psychological variables. And you're going to do this kind of in chunks, right? In 3 big chunks. Like the first one is kind of like, I looked over the spreadsheet of variables and I think these 2 are interesting. I think they're related to each other and tell me why. It's like, okay, that's the first part of the assignment. The second is, here's the data, right? So I already have the data for you. You don't have to collect it and say, here's the data I've collected. Then run the analysis and tell me, are these 2 variables related to each other or not, right? And the last is present what you found to the entire class. So it's kind of like doing your own project, except for I gave you some constraints. Like I gave you the variables to pick from rather than letting you just kind of pick your own, right? But you can still hopefully find something you think is interesting in those variables. Okay, and the last step will be sharing that to the entire class. So that's it, right? If we look at all the assignments in our class, we have this project assignments, a project assignment, and then you have the discussion and analytic assignments. Really, this could be one category. And then you've got the quizzes for every chapter, and you've got the exams. So pretty straightforward. Now let's look at the schedule. So remember, this is 6 weeks. Like I said, this is going to be really fast. You're really going to have to practice self-discipline when going through this class because it's not like you have 1 chapter a week. We don't have time for that. Right? It's more like 3. So in this first week, you're going to look at chapters 1, 2, and 3. They're not amazingly complicated at the beginning, but they get more complex as we move on. Okay, so you can see here you got quizzes, discussion for chapters 1 through 3 is due on June 20th. So that's what I meant. Like if you don't get these turned in on June 20th, I'm going to send you a message and say, hey, you didn't get these turned in. Do you plan on continuing through the class? If I don't hear anything back, then I'm going to drop you. It's not because I'm trying to be mean or fill up space in the class. It's because I don't want you to get an F or a W if you really, really would rather drop the class. All right. So this is kind of how the schedule works pacing wise, right? Chapter 1, 2, and 3, quizzes, discussions due. Chapters 4, 5, 6, quizzes, discussions due. And in this case, also project 1, exam 1 also due, right? And then we move on. And now it's getting a little more complex. So we'll do 2 chapters at a time, right? 7 and 8, everything's due the following week. 9 and 10, everything's due the following week, and so on until we complete the class. All right, so pretty straightforward. I think that's all I got for you for now for the syllabus. If you think of any questions, then please reach out and have a good weekend. I will see you all on